Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques.com. So in this video, we're going to take a look at an ideal or a concept that is commonly used in mathematics called solving a linear equation. We'll start with a somewhat basic idea or basic equation, and we'll build on this in future videos. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So our equation for this particular example is going to be 14. And then inside parentheses, we're going to have our variable n minus 6. We're going to close up parentheses, and then we're going to put minus 16, and then we're going to put equals negative 30. That's what we got there. So this is our equation here, 14n minus 6, inside parentheses, n minus 6, minus 16 equals negative 30. So the first thing we want to do in order to solve this particular equation is we want to distribute the 14. This is a very common principle inside mathematics. So what we mean by distribute is that since 14 is going to be times n and also times minus 6. So that basically means we're going to multiply 14 by n, and we're also going to multiply 14 by minus 6. That's the first step that we're going to take. We want to remove the parentheses. That's our primary goal here. And we will use something called the distributive property to do that. So 14 times n is 14n. And 14 times 6 is going to be, negative 6 is going to be 84. Now we still have our minus 16. We haven't dealt with that yet. And of course, we still have our minus 30. We have not dealt with that yet. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to combine like terms. So the first example I can see right here is the minus 84 and the minus 16, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to combine those. There's nothing else in common with the 14n because the 14 has the variable attached to it. So it has nothing else in common right now. So the next step is going to be combining the minus 84 and the minus 16. So that answer is going to be 14 n minus 100 now, because minus 84 minus 16 is going to be 100, and we still have our negative 30. That's what we have here. All right, I'm going to move to another screen so that I have more space here. So now we have 14 n minus 100 equals minus 30. Now the next thing we want to do is that we want to put the variable by itself. That is our next primary goal. So the first step to doing that is we want to move the minus 100 to the other side of the equation so that the 14n is alone. So to do that, we have to do the opposite of subtracting, or the negative, which is to add. So we add 100 to both sides, like so. So negative 100 plus 100 is going to be 0. So we have the 14n alone. This should look familiar. And now negative 30 plus 100 is going to be positive 70. That's what's going to happen here. Now, again, we're one step closer to isolating the variable n. But now we still have 14 times n equals 70. The opposite of multiplying is going to be divide. By dividing 14n by 14, we can cancel out the 14 and have the variable alone. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. So basically, we're going to divide this by 14. And then since we do it on this side, we have to do it on the other side. That's how we make sure that our equation is balanced. That's why we do that. And then we know that 14 divided by 14 is going to be 1, so that cancels out. And so we're left with n equals 70 over 14, but we're going to simplify that to 5. And so that is our basic answer right there. N equals 5. And so if you were to plug this back into the original equation, if you took a look at this right here, you can see very, very simple. So if I plug in the 5 here, you can see that 5 minus 6, remember we work with the parentheses first. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And so then after you get the negative 1, 14 14 times negative 1 will be negative 14. Negative 14 minus 16 will equal negative 30. That's how you get the answer. So this is a very, very basic concept that we commonly use in algebra where we are learning how to solve an equation. So in this video, we just did what I just told you. We learned how to solve an equation. There are several techniques that you have to use. You have to distribute, and then when you want to isolate the variable, you have to do the opposite operation on one side, operation in order to remove or to isolate the variable. So to make that clear, if you look at the second slide here, when I wanted to isolate the variable, I had to first add 100 to both sides. I had to do the opposite of what the sign was in order to isolate the variable. And then once I got down to the 14n, 14 times n is multiplication. To further isolate the variable, I had to do the opposite of that, which is division. And by doing so, I was able to get my answer, which is 5. So we hope that this video was useful for you, and we thank you for watching. Take care.